on how can I improve, how can I target my students where they're at. Today's PD is a lot about, the main focus is about that differentiation. And so we're going to give you some skills and some quick screeners and assessments and checklists that you can take, boom, do it right away and start identifying those groups. Because a level, whether it's your DRA, whether it's Fontans and Bunnell, whether it's a letter level or a lifestyle level, it's not enough. What does that mean to be at that level? So we're going to give you some tools that will be able to help you with that. As I mentioned, many of us have different assessments that we use. As a district, we've adopted Benchmark, and we're very lucky that within Benchmark, we do have a lot of very powerful tools that can help us with assessment. We decided that foundational skills and informal assessments are going to be the ones that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So this is the one we're going to be focusing on right now, the informal assessment book. When we identify our groups and we put students into groups, that's the first step. Then comes our intentional, very targeted focus on what they need for their next steps. And then comes the observations and the progress monitoring. We don't just form the groups, put them in, and then reform them at the beginning of our second quarter. We have to do continuous spiraling, continuous observations, and continuous moving of our students. So these groups that we have are flexible. At this time, I'm going to tell you 1, 2, 3, 4 different little tabs that will help you as we dive into this book. One of the important ones, the first one would be on page 7. If you want to tap that one to be the organization. The next section would be page 9. And page 9 begins developmental checklist. Very powerful. This one will help you understand what it is that students need at every level. And then page 19 is actually the level screeners that we're going to spend a lot of time in. And then the last one would be page 107, anecdotal notes. 107, anecdotal notes. We're going to be discussing some level screeners that I mentioned would be one of the biggest bulk of what we're going to talk about in assessments. Level screeners are designated to provide us quick information on students' reading level. Very quick. It guides us on what the next step would be with our students. But you're going to love it. We're going to get to practice that, and it's going to be a really quick thing that you can do with your students. Read the introduction on page 19 and 20 before we go into this section.
Page 19 talks about how to administer this assessment and what it's for. They're meant to be quick and to help us determine where we could place this kiddo based on this passage. And at the bottom of page 19, you'll see those bullets will give you the grade bands. And I want to make sure that you look at there, and I want you to highlight your grade band. Screener 1 is for K1. Screener 2 is for 1st through 2nd grade. Screener 3 is 2nd to 3rd grade. Screener 4 is 3rd to 5th grade. And screener 5 is 5th to 7th grade. You want to have all of your screeners ready. That way you can just pull them and you can start on whatever level you hold the kiddo next to you, and you can have them read whatever level you think that student can read at that time. Now, based on how they read it and their reading behaviors, when we look at our reading behavior charts, which are on the previous pages, we will then be prompted what the next steps will be for that student to find their level. And we are going to be practicing this with actual students. We have what's called a pre-screener, right? And you'll see that also there on page 19. And there's those 3 steps. Fundamental skills, you want to make sure you place a book in front of them. You ask them those following questions. Ask them to pick up a book and get ready to read. Does the student know how to hold a book? If your student knows how to read a book, great. We move on to step 2. What is which is letter recognition skills. The letters are M-A-S-T. You'll set them in front of them. The first thing you ask the student, and you can see here on the top, I have name, or in Spanish I also put in un nombre. You ask the student, please tell me the names of the letters. You will have students stare at you. Names? Yes, the name. No, the name, honey. M? And they will, yes, awesome. Yeah, and the next one? And as they say them to you, please mark them off. I put these lines up here because if they get it wrong, I write right there what they say. That way that's documentation for me, that maybe that's something that I need to also work on with that student. And maybe I have a group of kiddos that's working on letter recognition. That's the group that kiddo needs to be in. Okay? Next underneath says sound. Can you tell me the sound of those same letters? And they'll go through. The most commonly missed sound is of course A, and then I'll make a note of it, both in English and in Spanish. They'll either say ah, or they'll say, I've had them say eh. So what does that tell you if they don't know that? That is a group that kiddo probably needs some phonics intervention. Okay? So this is a great pre-screener. Now what I want to turn your attention to are the reading behaviors, which starts on page 20. Each passage has a reading behavior chart that is aligned to it. And there on page 20 for passage 1, it will tell you exactly what to do next. You're going to be looking at passage 1 and looking at the reading behavior chart for passage 1. So make sure, I want you guys to take a couple minutes and get yourselves organized so that as we're moving through the video, and I want you to read over those reading behaviors and notice what are you going to be looking for as we're moving through.
Right now we're going to do practice on passage 1, the screener 1. How would you go about annotating? What system will you use to annotate as you listen to the student read this passage?
My dog likes to play. My dog likes to play ball. I like to play too. This seal habitats and each and every belly could waddle, cold waddle. It can slip in cold water too. Fat keeps the seal protected. Then it can't find food.
Passage 1 was very, very easy for him, and he had no mistakes, answered the question correctly, and if you look at that next steps, it says that you place him at a level D or E.
So I will give you a little bit of information about the student. Yes, he does receive speech. Yes, he does receive pull-out for SIPs 4 times a week for 30 minutes. That's a big deal because he does have that support. That's something to think about with your placement. What else? He is not a second language learner. So what would you do? What would your next steps be? What would you guys do? Let's think about what we know. He receives SIPs report. He is in speech. We're in between placing him at a couple of different levels, right? C or D? Or E? You're in between those two. What would you do if you were his teacher?
But he did not answer comprehension correctly.
He didn't answer the comprehension question correctly. The question is why? Was it because of decode, because he didn't know how to read hunts, maybe? Or some of those words that would have probably helped him?
I would give him a different assessment.
You could do that as well.
So now I have 2 or 3 or 4 things to look at.
On the question, are we reading the question to them, or are they able to read all that?
So I have them read the question. If they can't read the question, I read it to them and I make a note that I read the question to the student. Remember, we're looking for their reading ability. So this student was placed at level E. in groups. Yes, because he receives support. He receives SIP support. So in that level E group, he's also receiving comprehension support as well.
So it says for this kiddo, we would go to level C or D or E.
Uh-huh.
And so I see where the skill checklist is inside of our
Yes.
this. Are there passages that we use with this? Or like, what does that mean?
So I love that question. That's awesome. So in Benchmark, we have our leveled readers,
Okay.
right? So if we know that this kiddo is level E, what readers are you going to use for your units? Every single unit has your leveled readers already there for
So
you.
pull from those. Okay.
Wonderful. Great question. If we're sitting in our leveled groups and we're using those leveled E readers, we have that small group checklist for level E. And it gives you, and I'll give you guys a second so you can process through this informal assessment. You would attach that to your group and you'll be checking off all of those skills that those kiddos are gaining as they're sitting in their guided group with you. Does that make sense? So what it's helping you do, it's helping you really focus on a level to set these kiddos up in, so then you can do more focused instruction for whatever their instructional needs are at that level.